And we begin tonight with an unprecedented and frankly shameful day in American politics. The Tennessee House took up resolutions to expel 3 Democratic lawmakers, not for breaking any laws, mind you. They moved to expel these members for standing in the well of the chamber despite being ruled out of order by the Speaker and attempting to speak loudly against gun violence and against children being shot dead in schools, something that literally just happened weeks ago in Nashville. These 3 members were standing in alliance with gun reform supporters, including hundreds of students who packed the gallery, hoping and praying that the legislature would take up a gun reform plan. Instead, this was the plan: to expel the members who stood up for gun reform. One state representative, Justin Jones, was expelled this afternoon, while late today, State Representative Gloria Johnson survived expulsion by 1 vote. A 3rd lawmaker, Justin Pearson, still faces a vote at this hour. Republicans likened the actions of these 3 lawmakers to the January 6th insurrectionists. Here are the 3 Democrats arriving at the Tennessee Capitol this morning. They are now referred to as the Tennessee 3. Their call for gun safety legislation comes in the wake of that school shooting in Nashville, when 3 children and 3 caregivers were gunned down at their school minutes from the state capitol. Chants from protesters were audible throughout the session today, both inside and outside the chamber, by young people, some of whom can't even vote yet, but who are demanding action on the astronomical increase in gun violence at schools. Hundreds of advocates, students, young people, and parents gathered this morning, as they have been every day since the shooting, in what is literally a fight for their lives, staging walkouts, marching to the Capitol, flooding the State House to channel their terror into action, a burden this country continuously places on these very young shoulders, while Republicans focus instead on the extremely rare, extraordinary, and anti-democratic action to silence their opponents. One of the Tennessee 3, Gloria Johnson, a former school teacher, took to the floor ahead of the expulsion vote that she barely survived.
Respect the human dignity of every citizen in the state of Tennessee, and not just the ones that look like you, and not just the ones that agree with you. We've done so much damage up here to vulnerable communities this year, and now we're doing damage by not addressing the concerns of the families and the children.
But it was Justin Jones, who represents the district in Nashville where last month's shooting took place, who was ultimately expelled. And here's what he had to say moments before the vote.
We shall not bow. That is what I say to the House Speaker, that we shall not bow. Because what is disorderly is a body that has used voter suppression and rigged maps to take control of our state. What is disorderly is a body that silenced the voices of Nashville at the congressional level, at the city council level, now trying to remove us at the legislative level. That is disorderly to democracy. That is disruptive to what we have an obligation to uphold.
And joining me now is State Representative Justin Jones of Nashville. And Representative Jones, I watched this. I spent the day watching this, watching what was happening with this hearing and watching you. And you were extraordinary, by the way. But what I found really remarkable was how small and mundane the arguments were to expel you. You were talking about the idea that you weren't there to make friends or to bow down to your colleagues on the other side. And they were talking about decorum and the rules of order. I want to show an image of what happened on the day in question. This was what, if we could put it up, this is what was happening on the floor when the 3 of you went to the well of the chamber. And I think it's important for you to explain what happened and why you all went to the floor.
Yes, well, thank you so much, Ms. Reed. We went to the floor because multiple times we were silenced from talking about the crisis of gun violence that the thousands of young people out here were demanding that we act on. I'm the youngest black lawmaker, formerly was the youngest black lawmaker in the state of Tennessee. I represent one of the most diverse districts. And so I went to the well to speak for my constituents, particularly those young people whose voices were not being heard by this body, that is so beholden to the NRA that they will not listen to these young people who are saying that our lives, we want to feel safe in school. We want to ban assault weapons. And rather than ban assault weapons, these Republican lawmakers in Tennessee are assaulting democracy.
And just to be clear, today, Gloria Johnson, who did end up surviving the expulsion attempt, she made the point, and you made the point as well, that today what we all watched, I watched it online, and those who were able to see it on air, what we saw, she said, and I think you indicated, was not the way that House chamber normally operates. That everyone getting to speak, everyone getting 5 minutes, everyone getting a chance to say their piece. Can you explain, is that the way it normally goes under this speaker and in that House?
I mean, the world was watching Tennessee, which is why they were on their best behavior. But even under their best behavior, you saw the disdain, the arrogance, basically I had a member on the floor call me an uppity Negro. I mean, this is the behavior of our body. And so even with the nation watching them, even with the world watching them, you see the assault on democracy that happened. And the most extreme example was my expulsion, because what it's doing, it's not about me, but it's about the 78,000 people I represent. These young people, one of the most diverse districts, being silenced because they're upset that we don't fall in line to their narrative of what Tennessee should be. That is a multiracial democracy. Indeed,
some of the most extraordinary moments. You had one member, the only non-white member in the House majority, lecturing you, he's Indian American, to say you should be happy to be there and you should just join with us and essentially behave yourself. There were, as another member that you alleged, it said to you that you were a disgrace and essentially called you uppity, but then wouldn't do it when you put your phone up and said, say that again on camera. And I believe he might have been one of the sponsors of this resolution. What's the atmosphere like being a 27-year-old, both you, the two Justins are both 27, being a young black legislator in that body? What is it normally like for you all?
I mean, this is a very hostile environment, but more importantly, it's hostile to democracy. And so what you see in there, they're saying you should feel grateful to be here. But they didn't put me here. The people of my district put me here. And that's what they were trying to undo. And from the time I walked in January, I was made to feel like I should not be welcome here because I led protests here. I was arrested in this building over 14 times trying to remove a KKK statue that we finally removed from this rotunda where we're standing. And so my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, from the day I walked in, did not want me here. And today, they overturned democracy. They set a very dangerous precedent for the nation of expelling a duly elected lawmaker because of First Amendment activity. This has never happened in Tennessee history. It's never happened, in any of the examples of expulsions that I gave my colleagues on the floor, which included unethical and criminal behavior. There's only been 3 expulsions from the House in Tennessee history in our over 200 years. And so today they set a precedent that, being the first lawmaker, the first young black lawmaker expelled for speaking for my constituents and doing my job as a representative.
I don't know if we have your piece, but I'll probably play it later. But you talked about, someone has peed in the seat of another member and not been expelled. There have been people accused of sexual assault, serial sexual assault in that chamber, crimes, and it seems that the one thing that this legislature cannot stand, it cannot stomach, are young black lawmakers who speak for their constituents. Can you talk about the protesters? You were speaking for them, and there were a lot of protesters outside on the day in question, the day that you went down with that bullhorn and were trying to have your say, because as you said, you couldn't. What did those young protesters want? What were they saying? What were they chanting? What did they want you to do?
There were thousands of young people. These are the largest protests that we've seen in Nashville in over a decade. And it is so shameful. It's morally insane that a week after a mass shooting impacted my community, I represent a part of Nashville, Here in Nashville, we had a mass shooting at Covenant Elementary, and my colleague's first response is not to pass common sense gun laws, but to expel lawmakers for standing with our constituents, to expel me for being a voice for my district, and particularly these young people who are gathered here begging us act. Many of those young people can't even vote yet, but they will vote one day. But no matter if they can vote or not right now, because they're young, they have a right to be heard, and more importantly, they have a right to feel safe in their schools, free from the terror of mass shootings and this proliferation of weapons of war on our streets in Tennessee.
President Biden has responded to what happened. I don't think I have it in front of me, but what would you like to see at a national level? I mean, I think that the country, those who care about, there it is, these kids and these officials gunned down in yet another mass shooting. And what do the GOP officials focus on? Punishing lawmakers who joined thousands of peaceful protesters calling for action. This is a state issue. They can make their own rules in the state house. But at a national level, what would you want to see the response being? And what are your constituents, the people who elected you, what do you think that they would like to see?
I mean, this is a very dangerous precedent for the nation, and so we hope that the nation will continue to see what's going on here and support what's happening in Tennessee, because if you didn't tell me this was happening to me, I would think it was 1963 instead of 2023, because what we're seeing is a predominantly white supermajority undoing democracy, forcing their will on my district, which is a predominantly black and brown district, one of the most diverse in Tennessee. And so we see a direct assault on democracy, on our right to free expression, on our right to representation. And so we hope that, the nation will come. The Department of Justice may need to look at this. I know I've been speaking to counsel, and we're going to look at, what are our next steps legally, because I do believe that's unconstitutional. I do believe it's a violation of the rights of not just me, but of my constituents, of the people I represented. And that's the most important thing, is that I did not go to that well in my individual capacity. I went there as a representative of 78,000 Tennesseans whose voices are now silenced because they expelled me and left that seat without a representative.